Hi, welcome to the next episode. Today I'm talking with Andrew Smith. Andrew served with the Green Howards in the 1990s. Andrew talks about his basic training, tours of Northern Ireland, and a tour of Bosnia. But the main part of this podcast is Andrew telling us about his recent visit back to Bosnia and why he returned and how it affected him. If you like this podcast or the previous ones, please consider buying me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Frankie'sPod. It helps to fund the software and the hosting. Hi, welcome back to the next episode. Today we're going to be talking to Andrew Smith. Andrew served with the Green Howards and served in Bosnia later on in his career. So today we're going to talk about where he grew up, why he joined, and what it was like serving. Hi Andrew, how are you doing?
Hi, Andrew. I'm fine, thanks.
Right, so if you just want to give us a...
Am I calling you Andrew or Frankie?
Well, my mum called me Andrew, but everybody else called me Frankie. So,
Same.
yeah, keep it at that, Frankie will do. Yeah, so if you just want to give us a quick overview what it was like when you were growing up and why you joined the army.
Yeah, I sort of like grew up in Scotland for a while. I wasn't born there. I was born in Cheltenham, and then we moved up to Scotland till like about the age of 12, just for work with my dad, and then we moved to Yorkshire, where I went to secondary school, where I grew up, in a little market town called Malton. A good little town. Life was all right, At home, life was great. School, I always struggled at school. Had a short attention span, stuff like that. I used to get into trouble. Didn't really get arrested much, but I got away a bit mostly. Yeah, I think I was worse. I when I was like the ages of 8 to 10 when I lived in Scotland, and that I was terrible, Just one of them kids before mobile phones and that, and you have to come home when the street lights come on and stuff like that. Nah, I didn't come home. My mum used to always be worried, about me. When I went to secondary school in Malton, I had a Scottish accent, didn't I? So straight away, people started calling me Haggis. And I was, talking with a Scottish accent and stuff like that. So I used to get in a few fights and that at school, as well. I passed with a couple of GCSEs, but then a few of my mates were like, "Oh, we're joining the army." I'm like, "Well, I don't know what to do. I had no careers advisor. Nobody, kind of told me what to do." But the thing was, my mates I was in school with were saying, "We're joining the army." When I used to live in Scotland, when I moved to England, in Scotland you start first year when you're 12, and in England it was 11. So they put me back a year. So I was like a year older than, I was still thick, I wasn't as brainy as them all, but, I was like a year older. So when they said, "Oh, we're going to join the army," I thought, "Oh, I'll be with my mates. We'll all join the army." Well, that didn't happen. They sent me to Strensel with the adults for 6 months beasting, and they all went up to like Edinburgh, to like a boys' camp for a year, for their basic training. So basically, I was just put right in the deep end, It was tough.
So that you thought you were going to go to the junior leaders type of it, or?
Yeah, I did actually. I just thought wherever we were going, we were all going to be going together. And that was it. I was, by the time they'd passed out, I think I was away on my first tour of Ireland.
Yeah.
I think I was one of the youngest there in training, but I just stuck it out. One thing I always stuck in my back of my mind. My mum used to always say, "Just do your mum proud," and that's what I did. I managed to get through the basic training. I joined in 91. The 31st of January 1992 was my passing out parade.
So what was training like?
tough. Like I say, well, it was all right. You know what I mean? I did it. You know, got some good mates out of it. We had it was Chindit's platoon that we were joining of Y Company at Strensel. Yeah. Now I only lived like 10 miles from Strensel, but that didn't make not of a difference because I didn't see anyone. You know, and you're not a camp. You know, everyone's like, "Well, you live close. Get your mum, get one of your sisters to, chuck over some sweets or whatever." We wanted fags and things like that. You know, and I was like, "No way." You know, I was just, like getting in trouble. But yeah, it was just like the 80s. We used to get beasted a lot. But the thing is, I was the only Green Howard. There was about 50 of us that started off doing the basic training. Now, this was the King's Division. Right. So in the King's Division, you had the Prince of Wales Regiment of Yorkshire. You had the King's, what was it? But there was a few of them. The Duke of Wellingtons, the Green Howards, the Lancashire Regiment, and the Prince of Wales' own Regiment of Yorkshire. Yeah. And I think that all made up King's Division. But like with the Green Howards, we were like picked, I think, say between like Leeds, Scarborough, and like Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
So that was like our, the catchment area. So if you lived anywhere within there and you were joining the infantry, then you're always gonna be a Green Howard. During like the basic training, there was a few instructors and that that were Green Howards and stuff. Because I was the only one, they didn't really pick it on us or anything like that. I found it quite cushy, at times. Just I think they felt sorry for us more than anything else. I can remember, like in basic training, someone went to the NAFI, and we hadn't had our berries at this point. We had our like army camouflage trog hats, you call them. Right, so before you passed out, he had his like what the Americans wear, and he went to the NAFI for the platoon, for the section. There was 5 of us in the section, and there was 11 of us in the section. So he went to the NAFI with a massive list for us all. Went there, got caught on his way back, no hat on. Fucking hell! He had to go and sit in the middle of the football field. We had to do a change parade. We had to basically wear everything in our wardrobe. So the corporal would be like, PE kit, get your PE kit. Get your number ones on, get your number ones on. Yeah, get your full NBC nuclear biological chemical warfare suit on. We're running backwards and forwards. Whilst this poor lad was sat in the middle of the football field eating everything that he got from the NAFI. We're talking like 20 litres of Coke. We're talking like loads of Mars bars, Snicker bars, Bounty bars, packets of crisps. And honest to God, it was, I think he would call that bullying these days, But he never went to the NAFI again without his hat, though.
Character building, let's call it,
it was sometimes, when then we have to do like the gas chambers, and I remember doing the gas chamber a couple of times. You're there, you have to take your respirator off where they've got tear gas everywhere, and you have to say your name, your rank, your number, and you think, right, I've done it. And then they start asking you other bloody questions, like what football team do you support and stuff like that. And by this time, you're probably like, gasping for air, running out. I remember this one lad, he was a smoker. He was a few years older than me. And the sergeant, he was a Green Howard, so he was pretty cool. And he says, do you want a fag? Do you want a cigarette? Oh, yeah, of course. And he was there inside the chamber. Took his gas mask. I wanted to have a cigarette. Oh, he was straight out that door. It was pretty cold. It was kind of like winter time. I passed out in January. And I can remember we were at Catterick and we were doing our survival training. So we didn't have much kit on us, just like our overalls, clean socks, dry socks, a bin bag, first aid, bandage, a rabbit snare, maybe a penknife, just the basics, like you're running away from the enemy, and you've got no on you. And it was bloody freezing, man. The moors, it was just absolutely Baltic. And we came to this river, and there's snow on the ground and that. And we had to do a river crossing. So we had to get down to our undies and do a river crossing. Honestly, God, it was so cold. If I think of anything I do now that's cold, I just bring my mind back to that and think, fucking hell, that was colder. And we got across, but there was this one lad, I remember his name, Sharpie. And he got across last, but we all got told we had to be quiet because the enemy are just over the hedge. We had to be quiet. He came across, started complaining because his bag had ripped and all his clothes were wet. So, because he was complaining, we had to take all our clothes off and go and do it again for the second time while he tried to get his clothes on.
Yeah, I bet you were happy with them then, yeah.
Well, that's it, but like it is character building, It is all character building stuff. We it is what you do, So I did that for 6 months. I managed to pass out, not a problem. My granddad came along. He was a squadron leader for Lancaster platoon in the Second World War. So he came along to watch me passing out parade and stuff like that. That was a great moment, and a very proud moment for myself.
So what was so you went your first unit as the Green Howards. Where were they at then?
They were based in Catterick. Yeah. Because I was doing my training at Strensel, and they were based in Catterick. So for me, when I finished basic training, Catterick was where we were based at to start with. We used to go home a lot, when there's nothing to do, because I only lived an hour away. Not like if I was down at Salisbury or anything like that. So at weekends, if I were on guard duty or anything like that, I would, go home at weekends and stuff like that.
I mean, that's the thing with like UK soldiering, isn't it? At the weekend, the camp's empty. So if you're ever going to invade England, do it on a weekend on Wednesday afternoon. There's no one there.
Why not? No, there isn't. But then I was doing that for a while. There wasn't really much happening. I went to Canada. That was it. Was it Battis? I think it was called. Yeah. That was amazing. That was a proper live firing exercise and stuff like that. Having to carry, I think, maybe not your shells, but I'm sure it was like the mortar platoon and stuff like that. We had to carry their ammunition. Oh, we'd been awake for like days and stuff like that. And I can remember walking. I had all my kit, and I had a few extra rounds for like the mortar platoon or someone like that, And giving it to them and waiting for daybreak. The sound was great, the live firing, but I was lucky enough in my whole army career, which was only 4 years, 210 days. Yeah. To not actually go to, anywhere like Afghan, Iraq and places like that, you know what I mean? Because that, like, to me, I have big respect to all the lads that have gone there, like they're just hellholes. Yeah. It's not fighting. It's not like, arm-to-arm combat kind of thing. It all went to IEDs and that was the new phase. And you look at the war in Ukraine now, they're all using drones and stuff like that, Soldiering's changed.
Yeah, it is, and it's never going to be like it was. There's still going to be calls for infantry, boots on the ground, and hand-to-hand, and trench warfare. As much as everyone thought that had gone, it's obviously the way Russia fights, and the Ukraine use the same doctrine. So we thought we were going to see trench warfare, and now in modern times, but that's the way it is, and it's they're on those stalemate places. So you mentioned earlier that when your mates passed out, that you were in Ireland on your first tour. So what was that like?
I was a young lad. I think I was just 18.5, 19, something like that. And we started off, went to Auchinacloy, which is in South Armagh, which was like a border town between Northern Ireland and Ireland. Sniper Alley, Sniper Land, they used to call it, because they could be on the hills or somewhere over the river or over the border, and they could shoot at us and stuff like that. We can't go chase them, But oh god, we used to just get dropped off, say somewhere like Dungannon, which was like a bigger town, but then we would have to, to get the helicopter. The Wessex we used to fly around in a lot. The Wessex and a few Chinooks and stuff like that. And they used to pick us up from the landing zone and then drop us off like 15 miles away. And then we'd walk back over 2 days. But we'll zigzag. We'll stop in like woods, and we'll stop in like tree lines and stuff. So basically, like we'll stop and do instant kind of like rolling roadblocks and stuff like that. So if there's any terrorists, IRA, or anyone, driving around moving weapons and stuff like that, they might not expect us just to be there, because they've not seen any helicopters, they've not seen any vehicles, but we've been dropped off like a couple of days before.
Yeah.
So we used to just walk around the countryside, but we used to always pop in. I remember we used to pop into a few like the Irish RUC police stations, for like a hot cup there, dry off a bit and, stuff like that. Because when we were over there, we were working with the police, that was our job, to help the RUC, and keeping, Ireland safe.
Yeah.
And it was nerve-wracking. God, it was near Halloween, their bonfire night even, and the kids are chucking fireworks. Oh, I'm over bloody every hedge, every wall. And my sergeant and my corporal shouting, "Smudge, what are you doing?" He's laughing at me. And I'm shitting myself because every firecracker or banger I hear, I think someone's doing something,
I had something similar.
I'm surprised.
I had something very similar. We were on a foot patrol in Lisbon. This was late 80s. And we were walking down the road and I just heard lots of gunfire. And I shat myself, ran across the road, dived into someone's garden. And my brick commander stood there laughing. He goes, "What are you laughing? What's the matter with you?" I says, "Coming under fire." He says, "Fucking idiot." I says, "What?" He says, "What's the other side of that wall?" And I looked, I was like, "Oh, shit, yeah." It was the 30-metre range. So there was, there was somebody on the 30-metre range. We'd only just like walked around the corner from the camp and we were just leaving it. And then, yeah. So, yeah, I know what that was like. I couldn't live that one down for a couple of weeks, to be honest. But, yeah.
Oh, no. Well, that's it, But it was, I was only young then. The stories that I can remember and things, are pretty crazy. Like, we used to have, like, your sentry duty, but there used to be one that was, like, 100 metres, like your first point of call. So you have a little sentry box, and then 100 metres back, you'll have your lads with the GPMGs and all, the camera equipment and stuff like that, seeing what I'm doing. So basically, I'm the first person that has to check the vehicle. So I'm down there. I think I had the crap shift. It might have been like 3 till 4 a.m. So I'm plod down there, see me mate. Yeah, see you later. So I'm stood down there, and it was really foggy and misty kind of day, like evening, morning. And then I heard a okay, I cocked my weapon, looked through my sights, shitting myself, raging back. There's someone here. Right, and they're all like looking, and there's no one there, Smudge. And they got on like the infrared and stuff. Field for a sheep isn't there next to the camp? I didn't know sheep could cough like humans. Have you? Oh, right, go Google it later. Sheep coughing. Oh my God, I did. I thought I was going to get ambushed. So they're all pissing themselves, laughing at that. But there's some hairy moments where we used to get into like riots and stuff like that, with the locals. We had a dog called Muttley, and thought he got a brick to his head. he used to just come out on patrols. He was just like the camp dog. Nobody really owned him. We all looked after, the dog. But he had a few stitches on his head, and we all had to chip in, for the vet's bill to get him fixed. And then when we left, the dog just stayed there to the next lads that, kind of took over,
Yeah, it's amazing.
So the first tour. No, so the first tour, was like, as I say, was like Auchnacloy. It was countryside. It was a lot different, But then halfway through the tour, that's when we got shifted to go to Belfast. Oh, it was totally different. Proper built-up area. You're driving around. It was sort of like I was in the like the Ardoyne and the Shankill area and stuff like that. And people like, spitting at you, not liking you, and, you got all your kit on and stuff like that. Yeah, it was quite intimidating at times, We had a few IED attacks and stuff like that with, like nail bombs and things, but luckily, they didn't go off. They're just like homemade things and that, But that was like, I went there twice. The first time, I was a lot younger. Then I did a tour of Bosnia. And then after Bosnia, I went back to Ireland again. But I didn't like it the second time. I went back. Plus, I think I went back, and I'd only been back from Bosnia for about 3 months. Yeah. And then he sent us over to Ireland, after that, which, I thought was a bit of, too soon.
Yeah, especially for a Bosnia too,
So Ireland was different. You have to kind of like adapt. The situations, and you're a team of lads. You all get on. You all watch each other's backs and stuff like that. Some funny stories to tell. I used to be like the pathfinder. So like, when we were in the countryside, you had to get from A to B, but you're not allowed over any bridges. Yeah. You're not allowed through any gates. Oh my! So you basically gone through hedges, thorn bushes, electric fences. The whole lot. Quite funny though at times.
Yeah, no, them hedges weren't funny.
Well, you just get prickled to hell, man. Them thorn bushes and stuff like that.
No, I remember them. Yeah, they could be quite challenging. I mean, some of them are fucking massive as well. It was like digging through a forest trying to get through them.
Well, that's it. You have your little blade, your little saw, your little flick saw, and that, and your little axe, and you just bash it on through. It was pretty crazy, like. So when I came back there, came home on leave and stuff, not much changed. All that, the lads, the people that I knew from the town that I was in, they're still sat in the same place at the bar talking about the same thing. Yeah. They just got a few cobwebs around their ears that's about it, So
the rest of the world just goes.
I was like, well, I'm not.
You're doing things.
Yeah. So so I weren't missing out on that much. Like I said, I think it was after Ireland is when I went to Canada to do the live firing and stuff. Now, what I liked about that, because I went twice. The first time I went was we were playing enemy. So the first time we went, we were the soldiers. So we had to dig in. We had to dig the trenches. We had to do everything, and it was proper like blistering hard graft. But it was soldiering. That's what you had to do. It's what you're trained for. You got your rewards. You got to go out on the lash and to a few strip clubs in Edmonton and places like that. It was a great load of fun. But over there, the adventure training, that will always stick with me because that was amazing. You had like a couple of weeks. You do glacier climbing, mountain biking, kayaking, whitewater rafting. The scariest thing out of all the adventure sports that I did was pony trekking. I was shit scared, honest to God. Well, you're up the Rocky Mountains, right? And you got your life in the hands of a horse that's like, wobbly legs and that, and a little path that, you couldn't even fit a bloody mountain bike on, And you just got like a couple of 100 feet drop next to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the scariest thing I did that I did over there. But no, I did go back a second time where when I was leaving the army, I didn't buy myself out. I signed a bit of paper. They gave me a year to think about it. And the battalion were going on an exercise, and they had no use for me. So they said, right, Smudge, we're going to send you to Canada again. All right, get in. You're going, this time you are playing the enemy, right? So there was no work to do. We didn't have to dig the trenches. They've already dug. We just had to go there, go out, get paced, if we want, we might have a few jobs to do, and then we get driven 5 hours into the prairie somewhere, get dropped off. There's your trench, there's your ammo, and it's like the paras are on exercise today. They're coming in. Fuck. And then you can see in the distance, you can hear the aeroplanes, and you know that if they catch you, you know what I mean, you're going to get a good kicking. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was a bit like that with Northern Ireland training as well. I remember, like, with different regiments and stuff, you used to go down to, like, Salisbury and places down south, and you used to be in training, and then you used to have the lads that were, the trainers or and they used to, like, come at you with rubber bullets and stuff like that, and shopping trolleys, and...
Yeah, I've done a few op fours before, up in Sin City in Senlager and down in Lidnide, and doing the civ pop, as they called it, civ pop.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah,
did it in Senlager for 3 weeks, and it was fucking amazing. It was just great. We were just, I mean, literally, we turned up in Sin City. They went, right, there's a house you're living in. There's nothing in it. It's just, what they're like.
Yeah.
And there's a heater in there that you've got to get the coal and put it in and burn it to keep warm. And then they went, right, that's your car. I said, what car? That. And an old Vauxhall Viva. I said, I can't drive. They went, well, it doesn't matter. You just all you got to do every now and again is just move it up and down the street. I thought, right, okay. Yeah. So I mean, they give us a car between 3 of us. None of us could drive. We were just ragging it around this place. It was great. And then when the riots come on, we were everyone loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. That is great stuff. Yeah, I remember doing my Northern Ireland training, and they'd given me a car as well, and I just passed my test, and it was like an old Ford Escort. Nothing worked in it. You know what I mean? I think one of the lights worked at the front and stuff like that. So we're following in convoy through Salisbury Plain somewhere, and all of a sudden, someone's done the wrong turn, and we've hit a gate, and and everyone turned round, and they've all fucked off. I'd only passed my test like a week before. I didn't know where reverse was. I mean, there's no interior light. I didn't smoke. There was no lighters. I didn't have a torch with me. I think I was sat there for nearly half an hour, maybe a bit more, until someone had come back in the car. I think we've lost Smudge somewhere. I didn't know where flicking reverse was. I couldn't turn around, man. There was a gate right in front of us. So, yeah, after Canada and that, we were still in Catterick. And I remember we'd all gone for our training for a vehicle, an armoured personnel vehicle called a Saxon.
Oh, I know Saxons.
Like a lunchbox on big wheels.
The armoured Bedford.
Yeah, that's it. They're very bouncy, they're horrible things like. But anyway, so we a few of us, we were all trained in that. And then, of course, the conflict in Bosnia was happening. So they were looking for volunteers to go with the Duke of Wellington's regiment, because the Duke of Wellington's didn't have enough drivers. So they were looking. Loads of us put our hands up. I think we were all just sat at Catterick board, you know what I mean? So loads of us drivers put our hands up, and they chose 10 of us to go over to join the Duke of Wellington's, go help them out. Straight away, I was thinking, oh, get in. I get 2 weeks off, 2 weeks leave, No, you're going in 2 days. Oh, shit. So I had to pack my bags, write me will, drive to I can't remember if I drive to Liverpool, pick up my passport there and then I had a day off at home. So I told my parents and my family and that. And then I remember that night, and I never touched a drink ever since again. I was on the Pernod and Black. Oh, I've never touched it again. I did. I got absolutely hammered just drinking Pernod Blackcurrant. It's like, what is that even a drink?
Yeah, no, it's not something I'd like either.
No. So so I went over, joined. See, now Bosnia, it was like 20 years ago. A lot of my army life. I'm sat here now with my pictures in front of me to remind me of stuff. Because a lot of stuff I don't remember. I don't know why. It's just out of my head. But even now, looking at the pictures and stuff like that, it brings back, loads of memories. Good ones and bad ones. So I went to Bosnia with the Duke of Wellington's, and we landed in Split in Croatia, and then we drove. Felt like days and days, and we drove our Saxons, and we just kept going. Till we reached a place called Goražde.
Yeah.
Now, Goražde was a small enclave, a little pocket, like Sarajevo, mountains all around it. So we got there, and we had to set up camp. We were like the first big UN contingent that ever, that got there. So we got the sports field. The first few nights we were all like, we're sleeping in our vehicles and stuff like that. And then we're covering up, sandbag duty. Bloody sandbags, man. I was sick of seeing sandbags after that tour. Like, I was filling them up.
Yeah.
To basically making a big camp. It was about 2 months into the tour, maybe a bit longer, before we actually got proper accommodation.
Yeah.
Before that, we were sleeping in like ISO containers or in just tents. With shitloads of sandbags around them and stuff like that. It was quite tough over there because you kind of seen like the kids and that. They had nothing. The ethnic cleansing that was going on. With the factions and stuff like that. Like the stories that you hear.
Yeah.
It was quite shocking. It was quite sad. We had nothing. We couldn't call home. We were in like a foreign country. The locals that we were there in Goražde, they made us all feel so welcome. Because I was there part of the United Nations. They looked upon us, to bring the peace and stuff like that.
And it was hard. It was very hard. Yeah.
It was very hard. I remember when I was over there, I'll show you a little picture here. I don't know if you've seen on my page, if you looked on my page, these two kids.
Yes, I've seen that on your Facebook page, yeah.
Yeah. Mohammed and Nora, the sister. I've remembered them for like the last 18, 19 years. My thoughts always been there, what's happened to them. But then when I did go back last year, because through that Bosnian and veterans page, which is amazing, I met a friend called Dina. Now, Dina lives in Sweden, although she is from Goražde. She then became my translator because I didn't speak Bosnian, And I started talking to a few other people on the Bosnian veterans page, and I was speaking to another lad called Mizra. He used to be in the Bosnian army, but a long time after the war kind of thing. And so I was talking to these two people, and then I decided when the war was going on, in Ukraine. That just sparked seeing what was happening on the television and seeing what happened in Bosnia. Then I was just straight away, I need to go back to Bosnia. I had to go. It was like some,
Yeah.
So I went back over there, but I made sure that I did it at the same time as my friend Dina was going, that lives in Sweden. Now Dina, her family live in Goražde, so we met up with them. And like I say, she was like my translator. She's now become a very good friend of mine. And then we met up with Nora and Hamid, the two kids in the photograph.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, face to face. And like I text, we'll have a Facebook chat. Now, Hamid, the little boy in the photograph, he has mental health issues now. He lives with his dad. Gosh, his dad must be about 90 something. He's an old school. He remembers the whole war. He remembers everything. And even just for me, I didn't feel like anybody. I was just one person in the United Nations. That it affected me, and I wanted just to go back, and see how people are coping these days, But yeah, so I met Nora and Hamid, the two kids in the photograph, and I talked to them. Nora, not as much Hamid because he's got a few mental health issues, but Nora, she lives in where does she live now? She lives in Croatia, and she works as a farmer. And she just grows fruit and veg in the ground. Oh, they're so hard working. The amount of hard work, and I noticed when I did go to Bosnia that the amount of things that people grow themselves,
Very
self-sufficient.
self-sufficient. Yeah.
And when we were over there, I remember the local baker. Oh, his bread was amazing. It was the only fresh food that you can get. The only fresh food. And we were quite away from Sarajevo. I think it must have been at least on the back roads anyway. It was treacherous, at least a 3-hour drive, And one time we were running low on supplies and we're waiting for it to come over. 1 week, nothing's come. Second week, still nothing's come. What's the hold up? It's like the Serbs. They put up a checkpoint and they wouldn't let our convoy through. They just wouldn't let it through. They wanted to check the itinerary of what's on the vehicle. Every bullet, every cotton bud, every egg, every rasher of bacon, and they were being like knobheads about it. And so we waited 3 weeks, it finally came. The convoy's here. We've been eating rations like biscuit browns. I think we were on a biscuit browns, and that was about all the food we had left, So yeah, it all came. Get in. Chocolate, lager, fags, fresh food. Oh, it was mail. The post has come. Absolutely buzzing. Yeah. So we're all sitting there, posts are getting delivered. Everyone's got parcels, letters, blueies, the lot. I get 2 letters.
It's amazing, isn't it? The morale that just a letter or a bluey or especially a parcel can give someone.
Well, when I was there, I mean, and I was there, I've got my letters. I got 2 letters. One off my mum. Hiya, son. I hope you're keeping safe. One off the naffy. Your interest is £5.87. I was gutted, you know what I mean? Nobody wrote to me. So after that, I joined a pen pal magazine. I think it was in Men Only or something like that, and then it was fine. I got loads of letters after that. Loads of them.
Hey, that's dodgy. That's how I met my wife. Yeah, so I was serving in Ireland, 1988, and one of the, jokingly, I said, "Oh, I'm going to write to the Sun, ask for pen pals." So I did, and got a reply off them, and got 10 letters. So everyone used to, people used to do it a lot, and I went, "Oh, this is shit." So I want to write to the Daily Star because it was quite like a recently new published paper then. It was quite young. And we moved from the Mayor's Prison up to Crumlin Road. And we were in the Crumlin Road, and one of the brick commanders, I'll come down off the town and he collared us. He goes, "Oh, come here, you." I says, "What?" He says, "Fucking look at that." Looked in the paper, and there's me letter me like request for pen pals in the paper, number rank name, fucking BFPO and all that. I was like, shit, I'm gonna be in shit here. So I was expecting to get back to the maze after a couple of weeks and getting a right bollocking. No, there was 3 sacks of mail, like in big post bags. There was 3 sacks of them waiting for me when I got back. So I was selling the letters to the lads like £1 a goal, and there was some weird letters in them with photos, some quite graphic ones as well. And I only wrote back to. I picked 3 letters, but I only actually wrote back to one of them, and I arranged to meet her, and that was the last I ended up marrying. And so
mad.
we're not together now, all these years later, but that's a different story. But yeah, that's how we met, through being a pen pal. It's crazy. Who does that nowadays?
But no, not at all. I wrote to this guy called Paul Raymond, and he was a publisher. I got a big box. I got a massive box. And it was just like the lads were just like buzzing. I mean, I was like an entrepreneur. Selling them off and that.
If anybody who doesn't know who Paul Raymond is, Google him.
It's funny, but that was, times did get very tough, in Bosnia. I didn't know anyone when I went because we volunteered, and I think with me, with the company that I went with, the Duke of Wellington, there's only one more Green Howard with us. So it was a different regiment. So we made a few friends, with the lads and that. Now I was attached when I was over there. I was attached to the medics. So I was driving a Saxon ambulance, which just looked. It had lunch, like I say, lunch box and reels with a big red target cross on the side of it, But we were working alongside the Norwegians, and that was our job. The Norwegians, their kit, was amazing. They had like these 8-wheel wheel thing. You go in the back, you can fit 3 casualties. They've got like a little operating bit in the back and stuff. But they had all the kit. But we soon found out that their vehicle couldn't go up the dirt tracks. It was too big. It was too long. So we ended up going, out on a lot of the, on the jobs and stuff like that, and picking folks up. I remember there was can't remember what nationality, but one of the fighting lads, not the UN, one of the other factions, the fighting factions, they had stood on a mine. He'd blown his foot off. So I got called to go and get him. And he's halfway up this massive hill. Now, I've been up this hill before because we had an OP on the top of it. And I thought, well, if I drive up there, the only place to turn around is at the top. That's going to take ages. So I thought, right, I'll reverse up, So I opened my back doors and I looked out my back and I reversed. Oh, took me ages around windy corners and stuff. And I got there. And this poor injured lad was like hopping. He was hopping, trying to get onto the vehicle. And as he did that, I put my handbrake on. But in the Saxon, you let it off. It rolls half a wheel turn before the handbrake goes on. Oh, the poor lad was trying to hop on, you know what I mean? And then he stumbled and fell over. Oh, all I heard was, "Who the fucking hell's driving that? Smudge, guard duty when you get back home, back to camp." Yeah, I just reversed, like, right up this frigging mountain, So I had the extra guard duty, I think, for a couple of days after that.
We've got something in common, actually. So in '95, when I got attached to another regiment in Bosnia, I went to attach a 19 regiment. That's exactly what I was doing. I was ambulance commander, so we got attached to their med section, and we ended up with Saxons. and I'd never driven a Saxon in my life. And we went to, I can't remember the camp. We were in Goražde, so we had to go up to, I can't remember the name of it. One of the shoe factories was. Went up there where the infantry battalion was, and we were going to do familiarisation training on Saxons. So we rocked up there, went to their MT, said we've come to do familiarisation training. He went, because I'm fucking busy. Right, where's your FMTs? So we all pulled our FMTs out, and he just signed them. He says, right, get in the back. That's how you put the handbrake on. Are you all comfortable? Yeah. Right. Fuck off. I'm busy. And that was our training. Next thing I know, I'm driving out the back of it, going to Vancouver up to Vitesse, and I'm driving the Saxon. I'd never driven one before. They're not easy to drive. So for you to reverse that up that track, I take my hat off to you. Yeah.
Oh, honestly, it was like, because when you get in, you have to lie down and crawl yourself in and then sit yourself up again. And, and like, you know how treacherous the mountains and that were, especially when you come across another lorry.
Yeah.
And you're like on the edge, and he's on the inside, and you can't go anywhere. And honestly, God, yeah, it was nerve wracking. But I remember with the driving that I did, this is a beautiful country. This is a beautiful country, and I'm so pleased that when I did go back, I was in a car. I could see windows, I could see the scenery, and honestly, God, mate, it's beautiful. It's still as beautiful as what it. If you can remember the scenery, it is amazing. But like I say, over the times it's hard. They had no electricity. The Bosnians, they had no electricity. They had to use a lot through hydro. They charged up their car batteries.
Yeah.
And that was their electricity. That was when I first saw my first dead body when I was over there. There was a guy who was attending to his little car battery with his little wheel on it in the water, and obviously he's fallen in whilst the water was while the wheel was turning and got trapped.
Oh,
Yeah, well, I was, it was a bit, he was blue and wrinkly. He'd been there for a while, I think that someone went and got him out later. But that was, I saw that. That was my first body that I ever seen, and I still remember it, to this day. I've seen plenty more since then through my other jobs that I've done, but I remember them all really. It's just a weird thing, perhaps. So in Bosnia, we were attached to the Norwegians. So we did go on lots of little patrols and stuff to the little towns, the little villages, and and stuff to see the kids, to give medicines, to give sweets, and things like that. And the locals, like I say, they were hospitable. We used to trade cigarettes. Cigarettes was the currency.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You used to trade fags. I think it was 3 cigarettes for me haircut. And then and it didn't even cost much, but we did, off one of the local farmers, buy a lamb because we were having a farewell party. So we bought a whole muckle lamb off him, and then had it over the spit roast. Had to cook for like 8 hours. So someone's there all the time, different shifts, turning it. I think it's because we were going home, and the Norwegians, I think some of them were going home as well. And I remember we were getting on it. And do you remember that drink? I bought some home with me last time. Slivovic.
Oh, sleep in a ditch.
Yeah, I'm sleep in a ditch. Oh my God, homemade plum brandy. That was like rocket fuel. And I was hitting off with one of these Norwegian girls. I thought, it's my last night, hitting off, been on Slivovic and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, a civilian, it was a surgeon. It was a surgeon, but for the NHS, right? But he was working over here. But he had a stupid rank, like Colonel so and so, But he was still a civilian. He didn't really have, no other rank. Oh, he came round the corner when I was getting a snog. We had about 60 little cuts on him. What the hell's happened here? He went out on the Slivovic, sleep in the ditch, left his room, went to the toilet, fell in the razor wire. That was it. You know what I mean? That spoiled my night, and the girl had to stitch him up like all over the place, just everywhere. Like he looked like a bloody tea bag, you know. God,
Yeah.
yeah,
Cheers, mate.
that was nice. Yeah. So we lost a friend of mine when I was over there. Now he was part of the Sean Taylor. He was a Duke of Wellington, and I was a Green Howard. But we kind of hit it off with each other. Got on quite well. You know, he used to come and see me and stuff like that. I used to go and see him. He used to always go out on OPs that way. I was mainly in camp most of the time. But he used to go like to an OP for like a week, you know, before going to another OP for a week and stuff like that. And we thought, when we leave here, when we leave Bosnia and that, we'll go on like an 18 to 30s holiday. We'll go like Ibiza, you know, we'll go and clubbing, you know, have a live it large and stuff like that. And I remember one night I was sat in our camp on the steps where the volleyball court was, and I heard one shot, one bang, and then next minute I heard was about 500 rounds going down on this one position, and I looked over the back, and I could see all the rounds just concentrating on one place, and then we got the call to go up, so I got in my ambulance, drove there, picked someone up, drove back. Then the Padre came out and like the sport was just like smudge, you know. You knew Sean Taylor, and so they heard that the name. Sean, yeah, I do know him. And he's like, well, he's been shot, he's been sniped, you know, and he didn't make it. You know, he passed away. Oh, that was a gut for everyone, you know, for the whole camp. You know, I kept thinking to myself, if I could drive faster, if I drove there a little bit faster, if I got there quicker, you know. But the Padre was like, not really. Even if he was next to him in the ambulance, you couldn't have saved him, you know. And he was basically walking from his Sanger to the back of the Saxon, and there must have been like a metre and a half gap, unarmoured. You know, he was just walking, and he got shot by a sniper. Like when we were over there, that affected me lots.
Yeah, I imagine.
You know, even then, that point, even like when I left the army, you know, but I only knew him for a short time. You know, so I kind of. It was really hard. I've never had anyone to talk to about it. Yeah. You know, when I left the army. Well, even not when I left the army. When I left Bosnia and I went back to where the Duke of Wellingtons were, then I went back to my camp. Not once did I see a medical officer, you know, or a psychiatrist, or anybody ask me, "How are you? How was it?" You know, even when I went back to the Green Howards, you know, you would have thought someone might have said something, you know. So you know, it was really hard.
Well, I mean, they didn't in them days, to be honest. I mean, really, it was shit. The way that, you know, that nobody I wouldn't say they'd give a toss about it, but they just didn't think about it, really. You know, I've been in situations where we've lost soldiers and nobody's come round and asked anybody about it afterwards and said, you know, how would you just feel? What do you think about this or whatever like that? And it just didn't. Because you were just expected to get on with it.
Oh, well, that's it. You did. You know, and it was very tough. But going back to Bosnia this year, it was really, it was really good. So Yeah, I decided to go back to Bosnia, like I say, after the war was happening in Ukraine and seeing everything that was going on. And I thought I'd take my girlfriend with me, a bit of company. So we thought we'd make it into a bit of a holiday stroke, me memory time and then a bit of a holiday. So we went to Croatia, where I proposed to her.
Congratulations.
She wasn't expecting that, you know. Which no, she wasn't, she thought that if I was going to get engaged, she thought it would be at the end of the wedding, at the end of the holiday, not at the beginning. In case she said no,
Yeah,
you
fair
know.
one.
I was like, well, I thought I'll just push my luck straight away, you know. Nah, but she's a wonderful, she's a wonderful lady, you know. I'm privileged to be getting married her. So we decided to hire a car out, and we landed in Zagreb, and then we drove down to Split, and then into Bosnia that way. I just didn't know what to expect. Well, first, I was driving on the wrong side of the road. I've not done that since the first time I was back there. You know, I was really worried about that. But as soon as you're in a left-hand drive car, it's just normal. You know, it's easy to do. You know, so I really annoyed my new fiance off on the first day because I was like, "Take a picture of that. Take a picture of that. Take a picture of that. Take a picture of that. Video of this. Look at that. Wow." You know, I was like, just every corner that you turned, it just looked amazing, and I just kept saying to Anita, just kept saying, "Take a picture of this, take a picture of that." I settled down after the second day, where we went to Sarajevo. That was it. We went to Sarajevo, went up the cable car. To go up and have a look. Was Mount Ingham's on the other side?
Yeah,
I think.
Mount Ingham's the other side of it.
Yeah, but you could see all that, from up there. Anita went through like an afternoon snooze, and I went to the local pub, which is literally across the road from the hotel. And as I was sat there looking up in the other buildings, you can still see the bullet marks and stuff. Or you can see where they tried to plaster it, a bit of mortar in it, but you can, definitely see all the marks and stuff like that. The Bosnian food's really nice. Javapi is like sort of like a meat, and they just serve it with onions and a pita bread, with like a spicy sauce. I did enjoy the food when we were over there, but then my whole purpose of the journey was to go and see Nora and Hamid. I made them a cup each, a mug with that little photograph on.
Yeah.
So they've both got that at theirs. Their homes now. But when I got to Goražde, I met Dina, my translator, first. Talking to her loads because I've never met her in my life. She was so amazing. And then Nora came, and it was just cried. I cried for like 2 days. just everything. Just like the memories came flooding back, and she was crying, and then we met some of her friends, and it was just everyone was so welcoming. And then the next day we decided just to go for a walk to where the old camp was, just on our own. And off we went, and I had some old pictures with me of camp when I was there, and there was a couple of lads, 3 lads with a head in a bonnet of it was an old car as well, and I said hello to them, and they didn't speak English, so I showed them some pictures, and they recognised it straight away. It's the bus depot. It's where we made some of our camp. And so he then got Google Translate, which is an amazing piece of kit. Google Translate on his phone, and we just started communicating through Google Translate. And he just let me walk around the old camp and stuff, like where I used to sleep and where I used to eat, and it just totally looks different now. But then he showed me these 2 these two doors that had graffiti on, and one was from the paymaster. It was the paymaster's room, and it says, "Anybody talking about football will not get paid." And then it said Cobalt so and so 1992. So there's little bits of graffiti and stuff there that that they've kept. But then I got invited to Dina's mum's house for like a traditional like Bosnian food and things like that. And that was amazing. Like I say, trying all their food, but listening to the stories. Now, when I was there, 94, and then when I left, you didn't really hear what happened. It wasn't on the telly and that as much. I didn't know what was going on in Goražde when I left.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you remember Srebrenica. Yeah. That happened a year after I left. Now, Srebrenica was like the next biggest town in a certain direction from Goražde. Yeah. Now, when that also, after I left, the people of Goražde built a bridge under the bridge because of the snipers. I've got photos of this now, and I didn't know any of this happened. After I left, and then they tell us stories about different regiments when they came, what happened to them. There was a regiment that came after we left. Gosh, I don't know if it was the Gloucester Regiment or someone like that. They came and they lost 4 lads driving the Saxon, coming down a hill, hit a boulder, bounce off. And they lost 4 lads, on a driving accident. But when I was talking to the people at Goražde, they're telling me all these stories, of what happened when I left. When the Serbs that did the ethnic cleansing at Srebrenica, they were coming to Goražde to do the same with them. And the local stories that I've heard from the guys and that when I was drinking Slivovic one night was how they could hear him in the woods, in the forests of the mountains, shouting, "We're coming for you, we're coming for you. You're another Srebrenica." And our UN guys actually left Goražde and had to go into the woods. They got told if they didn't, that there's going to be hell on. I didn't know any of this. I thought, we were there to keep the peace and, stuff like that. Now, I think it wasn't until something had changed, I think, between UN and NATO. And that's when the bombing campaigns happened.
Yeah, I was there for that. We changed from UN to multinational brigade, and it was really weird because we literally took our blue UN berries off and then put our normal berries on. So this was towards like third quarter of '95. It was, things changed. The Serbs shit themselves basically because they were going to get spanked, and they did. The drive.
Well, that's it. There was a regiment. A couple of tours after me. They took their berets off, the blue, put the green on, and went on the offensive.
We literally, that's exactly what happened. It should have happened a lot fucking sooner as well. It should have happened
definitely
years before. Because I don't know how you feel, but I feel as though half the time that we were there, before the Dayton agreement, we couldn't do nothing. It was.
No, of course we couldn't.
I wouldn't say it was pointless, but you felt ineffectual. You felt as though you were seeing shit happening, and like you can't stop him shooting air unless it's shooting at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're seeing shit going on. We've seen villages.
Mm-hmm.
We drove down through. We used to go down to a lake, Lake Proza, and we'd drive through a village to get there because we were working with the med section, and the Devon and Dorsets were literally like mobile troops. They were moving around the country. They didn't have a camp, so they'd
Yeah.
go where stuff was happening. Like, and they were in our area because they put the checkpoint in on the MSR going into GV, and basically like the convoys. What you were saying earlier, they stopped all the convoys coming in, so the camp and everything and all that. We're all running out of everything. Everything was lined up on the road. We could see it, and then all of a sudden, like one day, it was amazing. This warrior came down the road, followed by all the other warriors, and it was the CEO, the Devon and Dorsets, basically stood on his turret, and they pulled up at this checkpoint and said, "Right, move," and they were like, "No, no, we're not moving," blah blah blah, and they just all the turrets turned and pointed at these guys, fucking take this checkpoint. I'll tell you what, they soon emptied that checkpoint. Boom, boom, boom. They put tank mines on the floor and stuff like that. They dragged all them out, and that was it. The convoy come through. What a fucking night that was! Yeah, free.
I will fit in mind. Yeah, well, that's it. You know, like when it was just when I went back last year when I found out all about these other stories that that went on and stuff. But there was a time when we were there. There was a sniper somewhere, and he was killing women and children. And our commanding officer basically said to our sniper platoon, "Take your blues off, get your green on, go and find the bastard."
Yeah.
Which they did, but although they weren't meant to, but they, what I mean?
Yeah.
They did, because you can't just have killing women and children.
Well, I mean,
all the time.
Yeah, I mean that was the worst thing, really. That you were saying shit that was. I was saying going back to what I was about with the village. So we would drive down into Provenzal, see the village. There's people in there waving at her and stuff like that. And then we drove down there one day, and there was no one there, and all the roofs had gone and stuff like that. And and we found out that basically Serbs had come through. Or whether I couldn't remember if it was the Serbs or the Croats, because everyone thinks the Serbs were bad.
Yeah.
The Croats were just as bad as well.
No, the Croats were bad. Yeah, that's why I can't remember between the Serbs and the Croats.
You had the three factions: the Bosnians, the Serbs, and the Croats, and they were all equally as bad against each other. But it seemed to be that the Croats and the Serbs enjoyed picking on the Bosnians more than out else. So that's the way we understood it, and that's the way I feel. But we went back through this village, and it was totally empty. There wasn't anyone there. There was a couple of cars left there, but all the roofs had gone. There was no roofs on the houses, and we found out afterwards through because of something else that happened. That basically they'd come down, took everybody out of the village, put them on an island in the lake, and then spent days or a week or whatever sat there on the piss, basically shooting everyone. So Lake Rosa was basically full of dead bodies. This shit doesn't come back and tell people it didn't hit the papers in the UK and stuff like that. When I got told I was going to Bosnia, I was annoyed because I didn't get enough notice because I was going. But I'd always said to the wife at the time, when it was kicking off and we were watching it on the news, I said, if I ever get a chance, I want to go there because it's the only just to do this. It'd feel just. It'd feel as though we should be there doing something. And then when we got there, your hands are tied. You're thinking, fucking hell, what's the point?
No, definitely that's how I feel. You couldn't do anything at all. Your hand was tied behind your back. But I used to do a lot of like picking up casualties from the local hospital from Goražde, and they used to get helicoptered out from the sports field. So we used to pick up a lot of people, and so I was talking to my friend Dina, and her brother, the other guy, if you remember me talking about him, Misra. Now Misra was in the Bosnian army a bit later on, and he's actually Dina's cousin.
Right.
So that's a bit strange. I mean, I'm talking to two different people, that live in two different parts of the world, but from the same village, the village that I went to help them. So I met up with him, but also they're all cousins. It's strange, but his cousin thinks he remembers me picking him up in the ambulance and taking him to the LZ to get picked up by a helicopter. He then got sent back to Sarajevo and then somehow managed to get back to America to get his operation done and stuff like that.
Oh.
Now, he's been, since then, a music producer, and he's won an Oscar for the music that they've done on a story, I think, about Goražde or about Bosnia.
Yeah.
I'll have to find you these links. You know, it's like, you know, it's mad, you know, I was like just talking to someone, you know, but yeah, he got out of Bosnia, you know, and he's got himself into the film and music industry, you know, he's ended up, you know, getting himself an Oscar out of it. Yeah, mad.
So some of the things that we did do were good. You know, I mean, everything we did, you know, I would say that everything we did was good. You know, and we weren't there as nasty, you know, occupying troops or anything like that, or you know, we were there to try and help people.
Oh, definitely. I do feel, you know, that we did definitely help, because if you go back there now, and you see the place, you know, there are still loads of bullet holes everywhere. You know, like the day that you remembered you were there, they're still saying bullet holes that were there. You know, but then there's a lot of houses that have been patched up again. You know, and stuff like that. But everyone's just so welcome. They'll welcome you with open arms. You know. We went after we left Goražde. We decided to go to Mostar.
Right.
For our last stop in Bosnia before going back over to Croatia. Now, my fiance has a brother. Now, for about 10 years of their lives, they didn't really talk. Okay. Now, when we were in Mostar, he messaged and said, "Are you in Mostar, in Bosnia?" And Nita's like, "Yeah, why is that?" He says, "I've been there." "Well, what were you doing in Bosnia?" He says, "I've never talked to anyone about it. I went there as part of the UNHCR. I was picking up orphans from Goražde and from other little towns and villages and taking them to Croatia." You know, now for Anita to find this out, you know, she's 53 now, and she didn't even know about this, you know, and for her brother just to come out and out, you know, it must have been. He talked about how in Mostar he got separated from the guys, you know, when they were rescuing all these kids and that, and they were like bombing and stuff. Now you think these aid workers and that, they don't even have weapons with them. No. You know, they've just got a bit of body armor and a helmet, you know. But he said he's dealt with it. He's dealt with it. He's put it to the back of his head. But he does know that when I do see him next, we don't, you know, a couple of times a year we see each other. You know, that I will talk to him about it.
Yeah.
You know, we might have to have a whiskey or a rum to go with it, like, but you know, we'll talk about it.
Yeah. So do you think you believe it's helped you going over for this visit has helped you put, I don't know, say put demons to bed, for want of a better phrase? Has it helped your mental health in any way?
It has, yeah. Well, it has helped my mental health. Sean that got shot by a sniper when he was over there. On my run up to going over there, I started to get in contact with some lads that were in the Duke of Wellington's regiment, and also Sean's sister reached out to me. So then I started sharing stories with Sean's sister about, you know, because he was like, "How was my brother?" You know, and I was like, didn't really know him, but he was a cheerful chap. You know, he was great to be around, and you know, and stuff like that. And you know, I said the reason why I'm going over because he was a great miss, and you know, it did affect me. And when I went over there, I think she'd went a couple of years before, and they've built a new memorial.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice granite stone memorial. I think there's 5 people on it. There's a laddie that got shot. When I was on leave over there, he was I can't remember his name, but he was in the SAS. Yeah. He got shot. Sean got shot, and then 4 lads that rolled over in the Saxon. So there's a big memorial for these guys. And when I went over there, I took a couple of bags of poppy seeds with me. Yeah. Just to scatter anywhere around where memorial is and stuff like that. I don't know if they've come up or not, but I now have friends that live in Goražde that that we talk to all the time. So they're going to go back up and they will plant some poppies or make sure the poppies are around the memorial. But it has helped me. I would say that totally. I want to go back again. I want to go to Sarajevo. I want to go skiing. Honestly, it's a beautiful place, and they're not part of the EU either. They're still their own independent country. They're using the Bosnian mark still. Yeah. Everything's relatively cheap, and they are worried. They still live in a bit of tension. They were telling me from like the Serbs. Yeah. In Goražde, they have a few factories, and it's all the Serbs that works in the factories. So they came over, They did what they did, and now they're working over there as well. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, you can hope that everything's going to be better for them in the future, and obviously it's better than what it used to be. But I've heard stories about some of the factions would like to start up again and kick it all off, and it's just there's some idiot political people over there. Like a guy who tried to build his own pyramid and all that over Malton. If you've ever heard of that,
yeah.
It's just wherever. You just don't know what's in people's minds and what their political aspirations to try and get their own power and then kick it all off again.
Right. Well, that's it. And it's like I have when they did discuss this when I was over there, and it's like I'm thinking, like with Ukraine. Would I go over and fight? And I would. I would go over there and fight for them if it all kicked off again.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go to Ukraine, but I would probably consider going.
No, I know. I was on about Bosnia. Yeah, I was on about Bosnia.
It's
my.
Sorry, go
on. My friend over there, Misra, who was in the Bosnian army. We exchanged, a few photographs and stuff like that. He gave me his Bosnian army jacket, which I wear every time I go camping. And then also I had my old dog tags, which of course I don't wear. Yeah. So he's given me his, and that's my old one. So he's got one of mine,
and you've got one of his, yeah.
And I've got one of his.
That's cool, actually. That's quite cool.
We do speak to each other quite a lot as well. He's doing his own thing and things like that. He's not in the army anymore. He's left a long time ago, but he does. He says, "What once a soldier, always a soldier, no matter where you're from." Yeah.
So for anyone,
he's a good lad.
So for anyone who's listening to this, and who was thinking that they might want to go back to Bosnia, you'd recommend it?
I would definitely 100%. The Bosnian Veterans page, it is a good page, to go on, and you can ask for help of anyone, on there. Like my friend Dina, she found my friend Nora through using Facebook in Goražde. It was a Bosnian Facebook page, and she says, "Oh, there's this guy called Smudge. He was here then. Does anyone remember him? He's looking for so-and-so. Does anyone know these people in the pictures?" And then somebody recognized the 2 kids in the pictures, and then that's it. We made contact again. But yeah, everyone's like, it was friendly for me. I were told at some places not to go, where predominantly the Bosnian Serbs are, but apart from that, it was good.
I mean, I'll put a link for that Facebook group. I'll put a link in that in the show notes when we publish this. I mean, I joined it 2 years ago, I think it was, when I found it, and I must have. Once I found it, I spent hours on there just scrolling through people's, stuff, and because when I was there, I didn't take many photos, or to be honest, when we were in Goražde Coop, we just spent a lot of time drunk. To be honest, yeah. And then we deployed up onto Mount Igman, and it was all a bit different kettle of fish there. It was an interesting time.
That's definitely. I was lucky enough. I did have a disposable camera. I didn't take that many photos, but the ones that I do have, they're good memories for me. I keep it. I keep them. With me. And another reason why I wanted to do this podcast as well is to want to talk about it and stuff like that. And now, because it's like a podcast, it's there.
Forever.
And I've got a daughter. She's 14 and a half. She knows about me. She knows about my army days. But if she ever had grandkids or, wanted to listen to this herself, then she can. It's there, isn't it, forever kind of thing.
You're not the first person to say that. There's been quite a few of the lads who I've spoke to, and they said one of the reasons they've done this is so that they can get their. And funny enough, grandkids gets mentioned a lot. That they can get their family or their grandkids and that to listen to it, because sometimes it's easier for you to just listen to this than for you to try and explain what happened or talk about it. So it's easier sometimes to just talk to a stranger. I mean, I'm a complete stranger to you. So sometimes, and it gets things off your chest. And again, I've had people come on the podcast and say how good it's been to just sit down and talk about it, because I've been able to talk about it to people, in not just not just war stories or stuff like that, but just about their active service. Because like I've said in one of the things I like to do this for is that I believe that everyone, or especially since I've started doing it, everyone's got a story. Whether it be funny, whether it be sad, whether it be both. I mean, yours has been both. There's been good highs and lows, but I think every one of us has got a story to get out there. And whether it doesn't matter how mundane you think that story could be, somebody else is going to find it interesting and funny after. If we sat here and discussed all the silly things that have ever happened while you were in the military and stuff like that, we'd probably that's a whole different type of podcast type of thing.
Yeah.
But I think we've come to the end of it now for this one, and I'd like to thank you for sharing your story. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you for you to come on and do it.
Well, thank you very much, Frankie, for this. For the opportunity. Like I said, I've seen the post on the page, and straight away I thought that's something I'd like to do.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode and Andrew's story. It's good to hear that he's doing well, and they found going back to Bosnia helped him, along with the people he met while serving with the United Nations. If you found this episode interesting, please share it on your socials. If you would like to come on the podcast and tell your story, please get in touch with me. Thanks for listening to this episode. Bye-bye now.